The day I was laid off, I brought home flowers and dinner. I wanted my wife not to feel how hard it was on me. She looked at the bouquet, snorted. What's this? An apology from an unemployed clown. She threw the flowers in the sink and told our daughter, remember, this is what a loser looks like. I just smiled and remained silent. 3 weeks later, my phone exploded with 55 desperate messages. Last month started like any regular Tuesday for me. My name's Ethan. I'm 38. And for the past 7 years, I've had a predictable routine. Up by 5:30, quietly slip out of bed so I don't wake Ava, my wife, 36, brew some coffee, and head to the engineering firm I've been loyal to since my early 30s. Life had its rhythm, familiar, stable, or so I thought. 10:07 a.m., that rhythm broke. My manager, Greg, called me into his office. There was something in his voice. A little too calm, a little too polite. I sat down. He closed the door. Then the hammer dropped. Restructuring. Budget cuts. Nothing personal, he said. My position was being eliminated. I'd always hit my targets. Always showed up. Always stayed late. Apparently none of that mattered when the board wanted leaner margins. I didn't say much. Just nodded. As if I'd rehearsed for this moment, which I hadn't. The words didn't land right away. They just hovered in the air while I sat there, like someone had cut the wires holding up the frame of my life. The severance was decent, 3 months' pay, continued benefits. But it wasn't about the money. It was about identity. I was the guy who provided, the stable one, the dependable anchor. Now, I was just the guy who'd been let go. I sat in the parking lot, hands on the wheel, engine off. Not really seeing anything. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just stared. Felt like my internal GPS had lost signal. Recalculating. Trying to find a route in the fog. Eventually, I made a decision I thought was thoughtful. Looking back now, I realize it was the first crack in the foundation of my marriage. But at the time, it felt right. I didn't go home and sulk. I stopped by the grocery store and picked up ingredients for Ava's favorite pasta. I got a bottle of her favorite red. Even grabbed a bouquet of lilies and hydrangeas. Seemed over the top? Maybe. But I figured if we're a team, then we'll handle this like one. I spent 2 hours cooking. Set the table, lit candles. I wanted to show her that even if I'd lost my job, I hadn't lost my value. That we were still solid. They walked in around 5:30. Ava and our daughter Maya, who's 10, just back from her piano lesson. Maya looked tired. Ava looked off, like she knew something already. She glanced at the table. The candles, the food, the wine. Her eyes flicked to the flowers in my hand. Her face changed. Not surprise. Not touched. More like suspicion. Or worse, annoyance. She didn't ask, "What's the occasion?" Or say, "This looks beautiful." No. Her first words were, "Something happened at work." Her radar for tension has always been sharp. I'll give her that. I nodded and said we'd talk after dinner. Maya was right there, already starting to set the napkins. I wanted to keep it light. Ava wasn't having it. "No. Tell me now," she said, crossing her arms. So I told her calmly. I explained the cuts, the restructuring, the severance package. That we had savings, and that I'd already started thinking about the next move. That it was going to be okay. She looked at the bouquet like I was holding a dead animal. "You're joking," she said. Then she let out a short laugh. "Is this supposed to be some kind of guilt gift from an unemployed clown?" That hit hard. But what she did next shattered whatever I thought our marriage was built on. She walked over, took the flowers from my hand, and hurled them into the kitchen sink. Water splashed. Maya flinched. I just stood there. Ava turned to our daughter and said, "See, sweetie? This is what failure looks like." Maya looked up at me wide-eyed, confused. Then her lips trembled. She started crying. Ava rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic." The food sat untouched on the table. Candles still flickering. My chest felt hollow. Later that night, after putting Maya to bed, Ava let loose. No filters. "This is humiliating," she said, pacing the living room while I sat on the couch silent. "How am I supposed to explain this to my friends? What about Aspen next month? What about the club renewal? You can't even keep a job for 10 years, Ethan. Not once did she ask how I was doing. Not once. I couldn't sleep next to her that night. I laid on the couch, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the times I should have seen this coming. All the subtle jabs I ignored. Like when my buddy Liam came over in his beat-up Toyota, and Ava wouldn't stop making comments about how some people still live like college students. Or when she'd conveniently reschedule dinners with my high school friends because it's just not the right vibe. Or the way she obsessed over Instagram, over influencers and vacations and pools we couldn't afford. Somewhere along the line, I think I stopped being her partner and became part of the furniture. Provider. Paycheck. The next morning, while she was out at Pilates, I opened our finances. Needed to understand the landscape if I was going to move forward. That's when I found it. A credit card I didn't recognize. Opened in her name only. 6 months old. Over $11,000 charged, Nordstrom, Sephora, hotel bookings for girls' weekends. That suddenly made sense. When she came home, still chatting on the phone with her friend Lauren about how devastating this all was for her. She didn't even acknowledge me sitting at the kitchen island surrounded by spreadsheets. Later, when I asked if she'd consider postponing her upcoming spa weekend to save money, she looked at me like I'd asked her to sell a kidney. Appearances matter, Ethan. That night, after another round of cold silence and no intimacy, I'm not in the mood to cuddle with someone who can't pay bills. I picked up my phone and texted Liam. Is that offer still on the table? He replied within 5 minutes. Yes, let's talk tomorrow. The morning after I reached out to Liam, something in me shifted. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was something colder, resolve. If Ava had made it clear that my value in her eyes came with a $sign attached, then I was going to build something without her. While she sipped green juice and scrolled Instagram in her robe, I sat at the kitchen table and opened up the spreadsheet I'd started the night before. I went deeper into our finances. Every line item told a story I hadn't been paying attention to. She'd taken out a personal loan 6 months earlier. $22,000. For what? Designer handbags, Botox, girls' wellness weekends. One of the expenses was literally labeled emergency backup account. I later found out her friend Lauren had told her, every smart wife needs a stash, just in case her husband falls apart. Well, mission accomplished, I guess. Ava didn't even glance at me that morning. Just walked past me in her $600 slippers and left for a meeting that I'd later learn was a spa appointment. The hypocrisy stung. She hadn't contributed a single cent to our income in over a decade. But now that I was temporarily unemployed, I was somehow the shame of the household. That same day, she suggested I ask my parents for help. My dad is a retired firefighter. My mom still works part-time shelving books at the local library. Meanwhile, Ava absolutely couldn't cancel her luxury facial appointment because those spots book out months in advance. That evening, as she fell asleep next to me, well, in the same bed, but facing the other direction, curled up like I wasn't even there, I stared at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't in shock. I was planning. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with a financial advisor. I told Ava I had a job interview. She didn't ask any questions. Just reminded me not to embarrass yourself by dressing like a broke dad. At the advisor's office, I laid out everything. Our accounts, her debts, my severance. His face went from professional calm to tight concern. You're a medical bill or car accident away from a full collapse, he said bluntly. That was the moment I decided. I needed to separate myself financially, not just for me but for Maya. When I got home that afternoon, Ava was on the patio with a glass of wine, laughing on speakerphone with Lauren. I heard the tail end of her sentence. Honestly, I don't even know how much longer I can pretend everything's fine. Ethan's just not the man I thought I married. She didn't know I was standing there. When she finally noticed, she didn't even flinch. Just held up the wine glass like a toast and went back inside. From that point on, I started leading a double life. Every morning, I'd wake up early and open job sites, intentionally leaving tabs open on my browser, resume pages, LinkedIn, Indeed. Sometimes I'd forget to close the laptop so she could accidentally see it. But as soon as she left the house, Pilates, brunch, shopping, I'd get on Zoom with Liam. We were building a new wing of his consulting business. He'd been begging me to join for years, but I'd always declined. Loyalty, stability, whatever you want to call it. Now, loyalty had been thrown into the sink with those flowers. The plan was coming together fast. Liam already had a solid client base. With my technical background and his business connections, we could get off the ground quickly. Our projections showed a break-even point by month 3 and profitability within 6. It wasn't a fantasy. It was math. Real. Tangible. Ours. By the end of the second week, Ava started escalating. Subtle at first. She'd accidentally close my laptop in the middle of me typing an application. Or she'd loudly read over my shoulder, making snarky remarks like, "Maybe use a better font so they don't throw your resume in the trash." One night, after Maya had gone to bed, she sat me down like a teacher delivering a bad grade. "Listen, Ethan," she said, sipping her wine. "You need to lower your expectations. There's a Target opening down the road. Even their teenage workers make something. My friend's son works there. You could start next week." I blinked. "You want me to stock shelves at Target?" She shrugged. "Beggars can't be choosers." The same woman who threw a fit 3 months ago because our kitchen cabinets were too basic was now suggesting I bag groceries. Not because we needed the money, but because she wanted to punish me for not keeping up appearances. That night, I started a secure digital folder. Screenshots of her credit card statements. Photos of the unopened bills I found stashed behind the laundry basket. Voice memos of her outbursts. All of it. I wasn't preparing for a divorce yet. I was preparing for impact. Then came the neighborhood barbecue. It was the 3rd weekend since I lost my job. Ava, of course, had told everyone that I was consulting and taking some time to reassess priorities. The lies rolled off her tongue so smoothly I almost believed them myself. The neighbors were polite. Some offered leads. Some just gave sympathetic nods. And then Greg showed up. My former boss. The man who let me go. He and his wife had just moved into a house 2 blocks away. Ava practically launched herself at him, laughing too loud, brushing her hand against his arm every time he spoke. It was embarrassing. Not just for me, for her too. Greg looked visibly uncomfortable. His wife looked like she wanted to slap someone. I excused myself early and walked home. That night, I opened a new bank account in my name only. I transferred exactly half of our joint savings, no more, no less. I documented every step, took screenshots, saved receipts. Then I scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney. I paid in cash. By the time the 3rd week rolled around, every piece was falling into place. Ava, as always, remained too self-absorbed to notice. She spent most of her time at her sister's house, venting about her suddenly burdensome husband. To her social circle, she was now a tragic heroine, supporting her broken, jobless spouse with grace and strength. Meanwhile, at home, she was emotionally absent and financially reckless. I kept up the performance, job boards open, coffee mug in hand, sighing heavily when she walked past. But behind the scenes, I was meeting clients, building contracts, finalizing legal prep. Liam and I were moving fast. We weren't starting from scratch, we were plugging my expertise into his well-oiled machine. Then, like a perfectly timed cue, Ava announced on a Thursday evening that she needed space. She was taking Maya to her sister Lauren's lake house for the weekend. "This energy in the house is toxic," she said, not even looking up from her phone. I nodded. "Whatever you need." She barely said goodbye when they left Friday afternoon. I stood at the window watching her luxury SUV pull out of the driveway. As soon as it disappeared, I moved. The movers were already scheduled. They arrived within 30 minutes. I'd already packed the essentials, my documents, clothes, keepsakes, and every last financial record I'd been collecting. By dusk, I had relocated to a modest 2-bedroom apartment 10 minutes from Maya's school. That same night, Liam and I submitted our official business registration. We published a short press release. Just enough to let the industry know something new was happening, something real. I posted nothing. Ava was still in the dark. Then came the money grab. Saturday morning, a notification hit my phone, $5,000 withdrawn from our joint account. No message. No explanation. I knew she'd try to take more when she noticed I'd pulled my half, but I'd already separated everything, clean and legal. I left behind a letter. It sat on the kitchen table along with divorce papers, a detailed child custody proposal, and printed statements of Ava's hidden debts, her credit card misuse, and the personal loan. I didn't leave with malice. I left with receipts. My message to her was calm, factual, and final. I'm not abandoning Maya. I'm not disappearing. I'm choosing a life where I'm not treated like a burden. All further communication can go through my attorney. That evening, silence. Sunday afternoon, silence. Then 6:14 p.m. the messages started. At first, 5 texts in rapid succession. Then 12 more. By 8 p.m. I'd counted 29. By midnight, 47 total. Calls, voicemails, messages on every app we'd ever used. They followed a script I could almost predict. Rage, coward. You can't just run away. Crawl back and fix this. Threats, I'll take everything. You'll never see Maya again. Panic, where's the money? What did you do? Desperation, please come home. We can fix this. I made a mistake. I didn't answer. Just after 1 a.m. her sister Lauren called. I almost ignored it, expecting another attack. But when I picked up, her voice surprised me. I just found out everything, she said quietly. I didn't know what really happened. Ava didn't tell me about the flowers. Or how she spoke to Maya. Apparently, Ava had painted herself as the devoted wife, blindsided by a midlife crisis. Lauren had believed her until someone forwarded her the press release about the business. She said you were spiraling. But now I get it, Lauren added. I'm sorry. I told her 3 weeks ago that maybe she should leave you. That was before I knew who was really falling apart. That night, I slept better than I had in years. No silent judgment lying beside me. No pressure in my chest. Just peace. The next morning, I picked Maya up from school. I'd arranged it in advance with her teacher, Ms. Thompson. She was waiting by the office with her backpack and a cautious expression. When she saw me, she hesitated, like she wasn't sure if she should smile or worry. My heart cracked. In the car, she asked the question I'd feared. Is it because you lost your job? I pulled over. My hands were shaking. No, sweetie. Not at all. Sometimes people just stop being kind to each other. And when that happens, it's better to live in different places than keep hurting each other. She stared at the dashboard. Mom said you weren't good enough. That you didn't try hard enough. That sat in my stomach like stone. I didn't talk bad about Ava. I never would, not in front of Maya. But I did tell her this. Losing your job doesn't mean you're a bad person. Or a failure. It just means something changed. What matters is how you keep going. Then I told her about the business with Uncle Liam. About how I was starting something new. That we'd have our own space. That she'd have her own room. That she could decorate it however she wanted. We stopped for ice cream on the way home. I let her pick dinner, mac and cheese with frozen peas. She arranged her stuffed animals on the bed like sentries guarding her peace. That evening, I dropped her off at the old house. Ava was waiting outside, dressed like she was heading to a photo shoot, flawless makeup, new dress, smile wide and trembling. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. We need to talk, please, Ethan. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was scared. I nodded. Then talked to my lawyer. I'll see Maya on Wednesday. She cried right there on the porch as I drove away. I didn't look back. Tuesday morning started quiet. My phone, though, was anything but. 17 new messages overnight. Ava had fully transitioned into her next phase. Public reinvention. She posted a photo of us from our wedding. Filtered, nostalgic, with a caption about loyalty, love, and growing through the storms. The comments were a mess. Some friends cheered her on. Others seemed confused, clearly having heard a different version of the story. It was bizarre watching someone try to rewrite the narrative in real time. Meanwhile, Liam called mid-morning. Our new client was impressed, so much so, they wanted to expand the scope of the project. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was stable, sustainable, the kind of foundation I could build on. Later that day, I picked up Maya from school as planned. Ava wasn't home when I arrived. She'd coincidentally stepped out just before I showed up. Classic move. She was wearing the blue dress I once told her she looked amazing in. The one she used to save for anniversaries. This time, it felt more like a costume than a memory. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime? She asked with that tilted smile she always used when she wanted something. I'll think about it. I replied. Once the legal part's done. Her smile faltered for a second, then snapped back into place. That night, Maya and I built a blanket fort in the living room of my apartment. It was lopsided and ridiculous and perfect. We made microwave popcorn and watched old cartoons. She asked if we could get a dog now that we had our own place. Maybe, I said. Once we're more settled. For the first time in years, I felt like a parent, present, calm, and not walking on eggshells in my own home. When I dropped her back on Sunday night, Ava was waiting on the porch again. Her face was puffy, her mascara smudged. No filters this time. I started therapy, she blurted. I'm working on myself. I've posted about your new business. Did you see? I hadn't. I'd muted her on every platform. She stood there like someone auditioning for a second chance. But all I could remember was her voice in that kitchen, calling me a failure in front of our daughter. I gave her a polite nod. Take care of yourself. Week 2 post-separation, the messages got strange. Less angry. More erratic. Screenshots of couples counseling programs. Zillow listings for homes, perfect for a fresh start. Even a photo of our old wedding venue with no caption. Then came the ambush. Tuesday evening, she showed up at my apartment. I still don't know how she found the address. Maybe through a mutual friend. She stood at my door holding Thai takeout from my favorite spot and a bottle of wine we used to share on quiet nights. I didn't let her in. We talked in the hallway. She cried. Said she finally understood what she'd become. Blamed social media. Her friends. Her parents. Pressure. She said losing me made her realize who she really was. 6 months ago, I might have believed her. Might have clung to the hope that she meant it. But the woman who throws flowers in a sink doesn't transform in 2 weeks. I told her I appreciated the honesty, that I wished her well. But Maya was my priority now. She left the food and wine on the floor, turned around, and walked down the hallway sobbing. My neighbor peeked out and gave me a look, somewhere between sympathy and, man, you've got stories. Welcome to apartment living. Week 3, Ava's sister Lauren called again. Said Ava was unraveling. Missing work, crying at odd hours, saying things like, I'll give him everything if he just comes back. Lauren even apologized for pushing Ava into the lifestyle that swallowed her. Meanwhile, Liam and I kept building. Quiet, focused progress. Clients were happy. My confidence didn't come from making money. It came from having a vision again, and no one in my ear tearing it down. 1 month after moving out, I agreed to meet Ava for coffee. Neutral ground. Middle of the day. Nothing emotional. She arrived early, of course. Ordered my favorite drink. Guarded it like a peace offering. After the small talk and the watery eyes, I asked her one question. Why did you marry me? She blinked, like she wasn't expecting that. Then she answered. She talked about potential. About how everyone had said I was going places. About how she imagined we'd be that couple. Powerful, respected, admired. She said she believed in what we could become. She never said love. Never mentioned partnership. Trust. Joy. Not once. When I pointed it out, she looked genuinely confused. But of course I loved you, she insisted. I spent 12 years building a life with you. I think you built a life around me, I said. Not with me. She didn't argue. She just stared at her coffee and nodded slowly. That was all I needed. 6 months later, things are calmer. Maya splits time between households. She's in therapy, doing better, smiling more, talking more, sleeping better. The business is steady. Not flashy, but solid. I've started dating again. Nothing serious, just normal human connection without judgment. Ava moved back in with her parents to pay down debt. Sold the SUV. Let go of the handbags. Occasionally, I still get late-night texts. Remember when? I miss you. Do you think we could ever? I don't answer. Yesterday was Maya's 11th birthday. We threw a little party at a park nearby. Neutral ground. Ava and I were civil. We even took a picture together for Maya. As we packed up, Ava pulled me aside. I think about us a lot, she whispered. I've grown. I'm not the same person. Do you ever think about trying again? I looked at her. Still beautiful, still poised. But behind all that, I saw the woman who once looked at her daughter and said, "That's what failure looks like." "I'm glad you're doing better," I said gently. "But that bridge is gone." This morning, I stopped by the same flower shop where I bought the bouquet she threw in the sink, picked up a small bunch of wildflowers. When I got home, Maya was getting ready for school. I handed them to her. "Sometimes people give flowers just to show love," I said. "Not because they messed up. Not because they want something. Just because." She smiled, grabbed a glass from the cabinet. "We still don't have a real vase," and placed them by the window. "Can we get ice cream after school?" she asked. "Of course," I said, because sometimes the best revenge isn't watching someone lose everything. It's building something better from the pieces they left behind.